While the world leaders were in Indonesia's Bali attempting to find solutions and diffuse potential escalation of the Russia-Ukraine war, a small Polish village was rocked by an explosion. 2 people were killed in this deadly blast caused by incoming missiles. The police cordoned off the blast site and sirens could be heard wailing in the distance. Poland's military was put on high alert. The missile landed 6.4 kilometers west from the Ukrainian border, roughly the same time as Russia launched its biggest wave of missile attacks on Ukrainian cities in more than a month. The Polish Foreign Ministry, in its initial statement, said that a Russian-made missile landed on its territory. The Polish president later countered the statement and said that it was very likely that the missile was from Ukraine's air defense. He added that nothing indicated that this was an intentional attack on Poland. Within 15 minutes of the strike, the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky accused Russia, calling it a significant escalation. So far, NATO has backed most claims made by Ukraine and has criticized Russia. This time, the alliance chose to tread cautiously. Calling for an emergency meeting, the NATO chief said it was important to find out facts about what exactly caused that deadly explosion in Poland. And within hours, Biden and NATO held a call discussing the blast, and then came a switch in narrative. It was the American President Joe Biden who let the cat out of the bag. This is what he said before he departed from Bali after meeting NATO and G20 leaders.
There is preliminary information that contests that. I don't want to say that till we completely investigate, but it's unlikely in the minds of the trajectory that it was fired from Russia. But we'll see.
If it was not very clear, let me tell you once again what Joe Biden says. He says it is unlikely in the lines of the trajectory that the missile was fired from Russia. Now, sources say Biden told allies in a NATO meeting that the missile was a Ukrainian air defense missile and that Washington would support Warsaw in probing exactly what happened. And that is exactly what Russia said immediately after the blast. Moscow says it was caused by a Ukrainian air defense missile and that its strikes in Ukraine had been no closer than 35 kilometers from the Polish border. Russia also said that photographs of the wreckage were unequivocally identified by Russian military experts as fragments of a guided anti-aircraft missile of a Ukrainian S-300 defense system. And after Washington's statements, the West and its alliances chose to be very cautious and did not want to overstep the border. The NATO chief echoed what the Polish president said, that the incident was likely caused by Ukraine's air defense system. He said it was not Ukraine's fault and Russia bears the ultimate responsibility as it continues its war against Kiev.
Our preliminary analysis suggests that the incident was likely caused by a Ukrainian air defense missile fired to defend Ukrainian territory against Russian cruise missile attacks. But let me be clear, this is not Ukraine's fault. Russia bears ultimate responsibility as it continues its illegal war against Ukraine.
Belgium also saying that the blast was probably caused by Kiev's air defenses, firing at Moscow's incoming missiles. So, contrary to what Ukraine says, the West seems to have already rejected the possibility of a Russian missile strike. Poland is protected by NATO's commitment to collective defense enshrined in Article 5 of its founding treaty. But now, the collective response from the West will likely be heavily influenced by whether the incident was accidental or intentional. And with me on the broadcast this minute is Nikolai Topornin, who is a political commentator from Moscow. Nikolai, good to have you with us. What do you make of what's happened and the way in which Moscow has reacted, even praising the US for its response to the incident?
Thank you, colleagues. I welcome you from Moscow. Exactly, this incident was very surprise for us because Russian military forces never had any intention to attack any NATO country, Poland, Romania, or any other country. So there is actually a war between Russia and Ukraine. And of course, Russian military strike was hit on infrastructural entities in Ukraine. That means some military points, some infrastructural points, etc. And you are right that Russian General Konashenkov, who is the press officer for the joint commander of Russian military forces, he outlined in his speech that Russian missiles never arrived closer than 35 kilometers to Ukrainian and Poland border. That means that Russian missile could never hit Poland territory. And occasionally, let's say occasionally, or maybe accidentally, it was Ukrainian air defense missile which was hit from so-called S-300 rocket launcher. This is anti-missile system which was used in the Soviet Union army and as well now in Russian army and Ukrainian army. So this is mistake in my view. This is what happened. It's a kind of accidental mistake, but unfortunately the territory of Poland was hit by Ukrainian anti-missile and two Polish citizens were killed. We are very sorrow, and of course we are very feel pity for it. But this is what happened. What happened actually? Jens Stoltenberg, the Secretary General of the NATO organization, already outlined that according to NATO information, actually it was Ukrainian air defense missile that hit Poland territory.
Yes, I want a quick reaction from you to what the NATO chief has said, since you brought that up, saying that it was not Ukraine's fault and that Russia bears the ultimate responsibility as it continues its war against Kiev. So ultimately, this is a result of Russian aggression against Kiev. How do you react to that?
Yes, I partially agree with this point of view. If there was no any rocket or missile attack from Russian side on Ukrainian points, of course, Ukrainians did not use their anti-missile system. It is absolutely clear. But, you know, this question is very complicated of the reasons why this war started in February 24th. Each side has its own truth, and they did not coincide, you see. And we now witness that the war is going for 8 months already, 8 months period. This is a very long period because what we expected, at least what we were told here in Russia, that this special military operation will last at least 2-3 weeks, no more, because they wanted to liberate so-called eastern parts of Ukraine, where mostly a Russian-speaking population is living.
Yes.
But it turned out to be that Ukrainian military forces were very well prepared, and they were very brave, and then they had assistance from NATO countries with some military equipment, with rockets, with missiles, with tanks, with guns, machine guns, etc. And they also received humanitarian aid, they received financial aid, and now you see this is not very easy for Russian troops to to combat against, let's say, Ukrainian army with the help of NATO countries. This is
Absolutely.
not...
So that is how the war started, of course, Nikolai. And the reason why I ask you for your reaction to what the NATO chief has said is because of the timing at which this incident has occurred. We are leaving it there for the moment, Nikolai. Thanks very much for being here on the broadcast. As Nikolai was talking about the reasons for why this war was actually started by Russia and for its aggression against Kiev, just a reminder here that this missile strike in Poland comes roughly around the same time as Russia launched its biggest wave of missile attacks on Ukrainian cities in more than a month. Let's also get in Patryk Kugiel, who is a senior analyst at the Polish Institute for International Affairs, who's with us on the broadcast. Thanks very much for being here. Your assessment of what's transpired over the last few hours and the series of statements that have been coming in from the US, Russia and Ukraine.
Good evening. Thank you for your invitation. Happily, what we know so far, it seems it was just an unfortunate accident. Most likely it was not an intended strike by Russia. It was most likely a response to Russian shelling of Ukraine that we have witnessed yesterday. So for what we know for now, indicates that it was most likely missile S-300 struck by the Ukrainian air defense system, which accidentally fell on the ground 6 kilometers from the border between Poland and Ukraine. So this is very good news in terms of the prospects of the escalation of the war in Ukraine. But we also must remember that this is a result of ongoing Russian aggression and intervention and war in Ukraine. Without Russian aggression, there will be not a strike on Polish territory. And this also indicates how serious the situation is in Ukraine and how it can spill over to neighboring countries, and by dragging also the NATO alliance into direct confrontation with Russia, which we all would like to avoid.
All right, we're leaving it there for the moment. Thanks very much for being here on the broadcast. Patryk Kugiel with us from Poland. WION now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.